Hey there, welcome back to the channel on a glorious day in Shetland. After a couple of months of absolute dross weather where it's been grey every single day, the sun's finally came out. But here's the irony, we're heading off the island tonight to go on holiday. So come with us on a journey as we go from Shetland down the west part of the North Coast 500. We're at Stromness Harbour. This is our first stop on the tour where we're going to be spending the night on the Northlink ferry called the Hamnavoe, which goes from Stromness to Scrabster on the mainland. Stromness is in Orkney and we took the ferry from Lerwick down to Kirkwall and got off there and drove about 20 minutes down to Stromness where we're going to be spending the night. You can either go to Aberdeen or to Orkney from Lerwick. And we chose to go this way. It's not all that well known, but you get a really good deal on the bed and breakfast on the boat. So you stay overnight on the boat and then first thing in the morning they drive your car on board and then you wake up, you get your breakfast and you're on the mainland. And the reason why we're doing that is because then we can just head straight down the west side of the North Coast 500. I've done the east side before. Didn't, if I'm honest, think it was all that exciting, but the west side is where I've heard that all the amazing scenery, nice beaches and the things you can see are. I've lived in Scotland for almost 40 years and I've never done this part of Scotland, so I'm really looking forward to checking out some of the views and what we can see. On the way through Orkney there was a beautiful Skye, and so we stopped at the Stones of Stennis to get a couple of photos. Here's what they look like. So we've made it to SANGO Sands. As you can see, it's a beautiful beach in the background. We took the trip through Sutherland on one of the most incredible drives, and we're at this viewpoint just round here where you've got great views of the beaches, and honestly this has been worth it. The weather's been amazing and we're having a blast. So nice down here, I even decided to go in for a little swim. Totally refreshing, even in my swim shorts, not my wetsuit. Not done that very often since I moved to Shetland. We're coming to the end of day one of our trip on the North Coast 500. It's been absolutely brilliant. We've been down through Ullapool, stopped there for something to eat at tea time, and now we're staying in a place called Poolue, P-O-O-L-E-W-E. I'm not quite sure how you say it. Beautiful sunset behind me. Only thing is the midges. Midges are a nightmare. Anyway, tomorrow we're going to do Applecross, the pass there that's meant to be quite spectacular but difficult to drive. But all in all, it's been an amazing day. Loving this place, loving the North Coast 500. We'll see you tomorrow. On our second morning, we got up and headed towards Gairloch from the Poolue Hotel after a great breakfast. We then went out towards the Applecross Peninsula, where you can view across over to Skye and RAASAY, and then the Applecross Path, or the Bulleich-na-Ba Pass, which is shut at different times of the year depending on the weather. The weather the day we went, as you can see, was kind of overcast, and actually when we went up that pass we were going into the clouds. But as we got to the top, looking down in the famous section of road, the clouds began to clear and you could see some incredible views with dramatic cliffs and mountains at either side. We went down towards Loch Carron and Strathcarron, and from there we left the North Coast 500 and headed down towards Eilean and Castle. The actual North Coast road takes you towards Inverness, but we weren't heading back north at this time. Instead, we headed down to Fort William and down through Glencoe, where there's always some amazing places to stop for photos along the way. We went to the King's House, which my wife was pretty keen for some coffee and cake, and there's always some deer there, and it just is a stunning setting for a place to stop. We spent our second night at a bed and breakfast in Crianlarich before heading south again down through Callander, although we did stop on the way for a little paddle on Loch LUBNAIG. Even our dog came along for the ride. So it's been a couple of weeks now since we've been back from our trip down through the North Coast 500, down through Scotland. And honestly, we had a great time. Loved every minute of it. It was great to spend some time with my wife and just enjoy some of the most spectacular scenery that Scotland has to offer. But I was thinking about it, that actually I think the trip that we went on was potentially even better than the North Coast 500. You see, the North Coast 500 is a great loop. But there's parts of it in sections, and probably the sections that we missed out, that I don't think have just quite that breathtaking scenery that other parts of Scotland do have. And I think that by living in Shetland, we had the chance to do something pretty special. And maybe if you were to do one bucket list road trip, then going from Shetland down through Orkney, down through the west coast to the central belt that way, is maybe a way that you could do it, which is slightly different. Maybe if you arrive in Scotland or you head to Aberdeen and get the ferry up to Shetland, spend a couple of days here and then work your way down like what we did, that actually you would see the absolute best of what Scotland has to offer. I'm not saying I'm right, I'm only just putting out an opinion. I wonder what your opinion is. Maybe you've got a better itinerary than what we've done. Or maybe you've got some questions that you'd like to ask about how would that be possible. Then do put your thoughts in the comments and your questions there, and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed looking at our photos and videos as we went on that trip. I'll be back next time at Shetland in 360.